He's found something, but only his nose knows what it is. He's been obsessing over here all morning. What'd you find, Danny? What'd you find, Danny? What are you looking for, Danny? Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Sawmill. My name's Bill. This is Power Solutions Forestry. And we got a little bit of an interesting one for you on this video. First of all, I'm going to apologize for the wind noise. I'm outside because Danny is hunting like a maniac in one of the wood bunks, and he wanted to come out. It's a beautiful day out, highs in the 60s. Lows tonight are going to get into the 40s. That's pretty incredible. But what we got going on today is we are going to do a tear down, start repairing a 460 that came in from a tree service. It came in and they said that it caught on fire and it blew the spark plug out. Now they've already done a little investigative surgery on it, meaning that they took the muffler off to look inside, and the piston and cylinder look great. The spark plug is blown out, but it's a little bit of an interesting story, and what they're going to get is they're going to get my touch to this saw. His guys don't like it because they say this 460, and it's vintage, it's nice, is too heavy. Now, they're running 400s and 500 eyes, and I would imagine compared to those that it is a little bit heavy. However, when we get done with this saw, it's going to be a fire-breathing dragon. We are going to take this saw. We are going to repair the spark plug. I did once upon a time do another 460 that blew a plug out, and I bought the expensive time cert kit. So I have it. I've only used it once. We're going to use that to repair the spark plug hole. We are going to check the timing numbers today on it, on the cylinder. We're going to pull the cylinder, the jug off, and make sure that there's no problems with it, and make sure that we can repair the hole before we get porting on it. We are going to do some calculations. We're going to throw it on the lathe. We're going to cut the base. We are going to port it, and we're going to give this saw back to them in a condition that his guys aren't going to want to run that 500 anymore. Other than it starts really easy and it's nice and light and squishy like puppy do. When they run this saw, they're not going to want to look at anything else. Now, he did say that he just assumed that it was going to need a new jug and everything, and he asked me if I could put a big bore on it. Now, there are two options on a 460. You can go from, I believe they're 52 millimeter, you can put a 54 on it, which is considered the big bore kit. And the only options in those are really going aftermarket, I believe. We can replace the 52 millimeter with a 52 millimeter, and the options there are really going Meteor setup, which is around $150. You can go with an OEM setup, and they are available on eBay. They're quite a bit of money. Or you can go with a China jug and do it that way. However, I think the best course of action, I apologize for the wind, guys. The best course of action on this saw is going to be to repair the OEM 52 millimeter jug on this thing. I'm going to get some cable rings in. We'll re-ring the piston, so that is going to end up, when we put it back together, will be another video, because I'll have to order the rings. I want to make sure if there are any other parts, I might have to order a coil for it. The coil wire's a little bit burnt. And we'll see what else in there needs to be ordered so I can order everything at one time. And then there'll be a second video when we put it back together and try it. Or I splice the whole thing together. I will put this video up today anyway, But some people may want me to splice the whole thing together and do some fast forwards and just go beginning to end. But we are going to deck this thing. We're gonna time it. We're gonna check the squish. We're gonna take it apart. We're gonna repair the plug hole. We are going to cut the cylinder base. We are gonna rough port it, stick it all back on, check our timing numbers, finish port the thing, and then we'll probably be waiting on parts to put it back together and see it cut. But that's what we're going to get into today. I also, and guys, if you're just here for the work on the 460, then go ahead and if you tap on your right side of the screen as you're looking at it, if you tap on it, I think every 2 taps is 10 seconds. You can fast forward to when we're working on the 460. But I got a big announcement about the Sawmill, which is why I'm framed in this shot so you can see it behind me. I have been shipped 8 more feet of bed, which is going to get me to 32 feet, and a molder planer head. It's very, very exciting. They wanted to ship me one standalone, and I asked them what the molder planer head came on, and they said, oh, it runs on the same track as your Sawmill. So what I've decided to do is put the molder planer head down this end on the 8 more feet of track. I will be able to mold, plane, finish plane, and shape beams, timbers, things like that, up to 28 feet long. I've got there are a couple different sets of knives that, or a few different sets of knives that come with the molder planer head. There are straight knives, so it's 2 8-inch heads next to each other, and you can plane 16 inches wide. There also is what's called D knives, and what they do is they take a cant and they turn it into like a log cabin log that has a little round on the outside. Or you could put rounds on both sides and make landscape timbers out of them, if that's the look that you want to go for. And it also has a set of knives that cut a tongue and groove in a beam so that you can stack them on top of each other and build a cabin or a house or a shed or whatever without any framing. So basically you cut the beams, you run the tongue and groove on the top and bottom. You can do 2 beams at one time side by side with the double heads. And then you take the logs and you basically stack them up. If you want to do dovetail corners, you can, but you can do it however you want. You can cut simple lap joints in the corners. You could cut a rebate in the corners so that they lock together like Lincoln logs, kind of. Whatever you want to do, but it does away with the framing side of building something, because you get, let's just say you use an 8x8, you get an 8-inch thick wall that ends up being solid, tied together all the way up to the roof. Then you just put the rafters on, put a roof on it, go in, you can cut your windows out with a chainsaw, or you can pre-do it if you want, and your doorway. And you stick everything in and Bob's your uncle, you're done, and you have that cool little half round outside. Nobody's got that around me, and I think that it's going to be a good outlet for especially some of my older pine. I cut down to the heartwood, cut 8x8s out of them, go ahead and mold them out, end up with pallets of molded wood, and possibly can market them to some of the lumber places around here, or I can use them myself to build structures in, and we will build a structure out of them. So that's what's going on. Next shot that you're going to see, we're going to be inside working on that 460, and we're going to see if we can get her torn down, see if we can save this jug and turn it into a fire-breathing dragon for these guys. All right, so I think I have everything that I need here. The great thing about working on steel saws is if you have this T27 scrunch right here, you can pretty much take the whole saw apart with just that. First thing that we're going to do here is we're going to take it apart to the point where we can check the squish on the top of the cylinder. And what the squish is the distance between the top of the piston and the combustion chamber around the outside. That's going to tell us how much we need to take off the base of the cylinder to get down to some desired squish. Now, we're not building a race saw here, so I'm not going to take it all the way down to, say, 20 thousandths of an inch, which I consider like the minimum that you would. We're going to shoot for 25 to 28. I think typically on a saw like this, squish is somewhere around 45. We're going to find out. We're going to pull the muffler off. We are going to pull off the recoil assembly here. We're going to pull off the handle. And then we'll be able to use some solder to check the squish. Then we'll check the timing numbers on the cylinder so we have an idea where the saw is timing-wise. We will write those down. Then we'll pull the cylinder head off. And we're going to have to snap that in a vise to use the time cert kit to repair the spark plug hole. So let's get right at it here. We're just going to pull the muffler off. Now I got it in this condition here. So they'd already pulled off the front of the muffler. I assume they wanted to check to see if it was smoked, which it is not. Right now, I like to keep most of my parts, if I can kind of keep them together, throw them in a cardboard box, just in case it gets stuck on the back burner for a while. Now, right now, I've blown this saw out, but it's still dirty. I don't even want to concern myself with that right now. There's no getting around the fact that this saw is going to have to be sanitized before it goes back together. So we'll do our best to kind of not be cavemen about it, but it's going to get dirty. There's no two ways about it. It's a tree service saw. You can see it's a little bit beat up. And if I can keep my pieces together, throw them in my little box here. We're going to pull a handle off this thing. Always remember on your handles, these are plastic self-tapping screws, and the short ones always go in the bottom so that with the anti-vibe, they don't rub on the crankcase and blow a hole in your crankcase. Typically, these two are a little longer. In this case, they are not. They're the same size, so we don't have to worry about it. 8mm on the intake horn. I got to set up my other screw gun here. Make sure that you can kind of see what I'm doing. See, they've been running red armor because everything's red coated. Wait till we see the inside of the cylinder. All right, we're going to pull the carb out. And I think the easiest way on these is to just pop this throttle linkage right out of the trigger. If you can. Just keep in mind, I don't work on these saws every day, so sometimes it looks like I'm fumbling around. I might be. Now we should be able to pop this bad boy right out. Minus the fuel line. We take the fuel line off. There's no fuel in it. There we go. So we don't have any splashback or anything. So our carb, I will clean that before we put it back together. We are going to have to take off the case too. I mean the fuel tank. And now we've got to get, there's a little ring that help, there's actually a couple rings in here that help keep the intake boot the right shape. And we got to get those out. Let's see what I need to do that. That is what the other one looks like. And then what we have to do is we have to, once we can start pulling this thing apart here, we got to get that intake stuffed through the hole, and we have to, sometimes you have to get the impulse line stuffed through the hole too, but if it'll just pull off the cylinder head, then we're all set. So there's a lot of people that talk about tips and tricks to this, but I found just to squish it down and you can shove it right through like that. Now there shouldn't be anything holding this on right now other than it's stuck in our anti-vibes. And usually if you work on a lot of these saws, there's usually a trick to how you do this. Sometimes you pop the front out first like that and it'll start to come loose. And that looks like, oh, I got one more screw here. Is that holding on to something? Yeah, I got one more screw here. This one here. I'm just gonna, it's a longer one and it's got this grommet on it, so we're gonna keep those together. This tank's gonna come right off now. So we gotta pop those electrical wire. We're gonna have to pop the coil out. There's a possibility this has to be replaced anyway. Typically the coil bolts have washers on them, so they're easy to figure out what they are. Pop the coil out. Pop off this little wire so we can push it through without damaging it. Come on. There we go. Dump our coil in the box. Our Charlie in the box. Pump these wires through this hole. Just remember where it is. Guys that do 460s all the time would be 3/4 done with this by now. They probably already have it ported, put back together. That's our handle, our fuel tank. I call it handle. Fuel tank. And now we are down to a bare bones engine. We're going to pop off the intake boot. I'll pop you off. All right. That's our intake boot. I'm going to actually just leave that clamp right on there the way it is. Impulse line did just pull right off the impulse hole. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to check the timing numbers and the squish, write them all down, see where we are, and see what we got to do to this jug, and then we will pull the jug off last. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do before we do put on the timing wheel and everything, because we're going to have to get it hanging off the bench here to do that part, and I'm going to have to get you in close with some views, is we're going to check our squish number. The way you do that is with some thin, soft solder. I'm just going to cut the end off this one because it's already been used for it. And a pair of micrometers. What we want to do is we want to get the piston on the upstroke, not all the way at the top. We're going to bend this solder. We're going to stick it in. We're going to check it in a couple locations really quick. I'm going to put it in sideways so it's touching the edge of the piston. And then we are going to roll this cylinder through a stroke. It's going to squish. Sometimes it's hard. The solder, like that. And we're going to measure this with a set of mics. I'll try to do it from behind the camera here so you can see what it is. squished into it a little bit. It's about 40 thousandths. We'll check it in a couple more spots really quick. Make sure we're zero. Yep. Check it in a couple more spots really quick, just to be sure. And we're going to write that number down, and then we're going to install our timing wheel. We have to pull off our sprocket here to do that. Let's check it in another spot. I do have some more pliable, smaller solder when we get down to do our final check, because this stuff will probably be too thick, or you can just trim it down. Make sure you stick it all the way against the wall. I'm just going to roll it through a cycle. Okay, let's check that one. Hopefully it's the same. If it's not, I'll show you a way we can true up the combustion chamber to make it the same. Sorry, I'm trying to do this from behind the camera. Yep, 40 thousandths. So it looks like it's in there pretty straight. The combustion chamber is fairly symmetrical to the rest of the saw. I'm not going to waste my time and check another spot. I'm just going to go ahead and mark down the 40 thousandths, even though that would be easy to remember. And then we'll probably use this solder for our pointer. So our squish is 0.040. And what that means to me is that we're probably going to take about 15 thousandths off this base, depending on the thickness of the gasket. Now, I believe I have a brand new 460 gasket sitting right here, but we'll check that when we pull the cylinder off. Make sure that gasket's the same as the other one in thickness, and then we'll know that we're probably going to cut 15 thousandths off the base of the cylinder. So we got to get, we're going to put our timing wheel on. Going to get off our sprocket here. Make sure when you do this that you keep fingers on this little E-clip so it doesn't go flinging to kingdom come. Of course, the clutches. There we go. We will grease this clutch bearing before we put it back together. And now we can mount our timing wheel right on the stub, what's left of the crank here. Once upon a time, I'd pull the flywheel and screw them in there, but then I got smart and went to a drill chuck like this. So we should be able to just mount it on here. And then just hold on to the flywheel. We'll tighten it down. Okay, we're just going to get some rough numbers out of this. And I will show you how to get this to top dead center and measure it from there. So I'm going to I'll leave you there for a second. We're going to try and get ourselves a pointer here. Something that's not going to really move. Now, when we go to porting this thing, we'll be a lot more careful about this, but we think we can just use this solder right here as our pointer. Wrap it right around this little nobody knows what it is screw here, and hopefully it'll stay there. That looks good. And what we're going to do is we are going to loosen up my timing wheel here. Now you can print these degree wheels right off the internet. I just ended up gluing one or using 3M adhesive to stick it onto a little piece of plywood. We are going to go to top dead center because we're really close. Get my pointer down just a little bit. Okay, so I'm really close right there for top dead center. And then what we're going to do is we have to do what's called balancing this. So we are going to want to back this off a little bit. And we're going to stick some sort of piston stop in here. Now I can use, the 8mm will go through there. Let's use that. That should stay in place. And we're going to come back up against it. And I'm going to see where I am. So here's top dead center. That is 67. And then we're going to go all the way down and all the way to the other side. And the difference between the two is how far off we are top dead center. And it's perfect at 67. I'll see if I can get you guys a view on that. This stuff's going to start getting interesting to some people. Okay, so there might be a little parallax here, and I apologize for that. You're going to have to take my word for stuff here. So right now, in my view, where my thing is at 67, right there. We're going to go all the way the other way. And it's at 67 on this side. So right now, this wheel does not need to be balanced at all. It's perfect right where it is. We can go ahead and time the saw right from here and just using our little rudimentary solder here for our timing line. All right, so the first number that we're going to do here, just because we're on this side of the saw and I had to move the saw a little bit, is our intake number. We want to measure, you see the bottom of the intake open up right there. Our first timing number is when that happens, before top dead center. It's kind of right there. Now it should be a number somewhere around something like that. We're going to go over our timing wheel and we're going to look at where we are. So here's top dead center. I'm sorry, we're measuring, measuring from before top dead center. Right now it's 73 degrees before top dead center. So if I kept rolling, it'd be 73 more degrees to top dead center. I'm going to check it again. Could be just a shade right there. Yeah, I got it 73, 74 before top dead center. That gives you an intake duration of, so I'm going to put 73 on the intake. I like to shoot for a number like 80. So if you want to see, we go to 80 here. That means that if I take you over here, port-wise, I have probably a good 1/16 of an inch that I can take off. The bottom of that port to get it to 80. So we will make this port more symmetrical. We will take the bottom out of it so it's nice and rounded, and we will get that number down to 80. But that will also depend because we are going to drop the cylinder when we cut the base. So that porting will have to be finished after we time it, after we get the base cut. So that's where we are stock-wise, though, 73, 146 duration. If for you duration people, on intake, all you do is double the number. So our intake duration is 146. I'd like to see that number closer to 160. So let's do the exhaust. So rather than just get you a close in, I'm just going to do this by hand. So we want to be at top dead center. Or pretty close. All right, so we're close. We haven't got there yet. You always want to rotate this in the direction of cutting, the direction the motor runs, which is from the clutch side is clockwise. I'm going to put a light in the spark plug hole and I'm going to bring it forward until I see light. Oh, there it is. Still a little light. There it goes. All right, it's closed right there. So this is like exactly the point. Now we're taking our number after top dead center. So we want to know how many degrees we are after top dead center. Let's go look at the wheel. We are 99. So there's top dead center. There's 90 degrees, 98, 99. Oh, I moved my thing too. So that is pretty much in the world of saw building and the numbers that people give me, that's really, really close to perfect. You would not want to raise that. I'm just going to put 98. The numbers that I shoot for that porters have that are way better at this than me have given me on this saw are typically 98, 124 for the transfers, and 80 for the intake. Just to give you some round, good porting numbers to shoot for. So 98 is really close, which means that that's going to change a little bit when we drop the cylinder. We'll see where that goes to. But 98 is a good number. The exhaust, we want to, you never raise the exhaust roof if you don't have to. Keep the exhaust roof fairly flat, a little bit of flat towards me, this way in the cylinder. A little bit of radius to it so you don't catch a ring. And we want the bottom of the exhaust to be conical down and out into the muffler and match that, the gasket, and the muffler all to the exhaust later. So 98 is a good number. 73 is, I think, a little short on the intake. We're going to probably bump that up a little bit to 80, but we can't do any of that until we do the jug. Now, the next one's hard to do. The next one, you're going to have to take my word for it. All right, I'll get you as good a view as I can, but I have to view inside the cylinder and see when the transfer is open after top dead center. For your duration on that exhaust, basically what you do is that now you know that that exhaust is closed for 98 degrees on both sides. So that is 180 and 16 is 196 minus 360. So you take 360 minus out 196, which would be, I think, 164 on your intake. 164 duration on your exhaust. A general rule of thumb, and why I say I like to get around that 160 number on my intake, is if you can balance those two numbers kind of close, you're usually in pretty good shape. So if you can get 160 on your intake duration and 160 on your exhaust-ish, pretty close, that usually works out well for a balanced saw. I'm just going by the numbers that I've been given, and there's parts of the port theory that I disagree with and don't understand, and I try to understand everything, but 98 is a good number, and that's basically 98 times 2, which would be 4 less than 200 is 196, and you subtract that from 360, and that is your duration on how long that exhaust is closed after top dead center, which is what your duration is on that. So let's do our transfers. And you calculate transfers the same way. They should be somewhere around 124 degrees after top dead center. And basically you take whatever that number is. If you want to deal in durations, I don't. I just deal in physical numbers. But if you want to deal in durations, you take that times 2 and subtract it from 360. So I'm gonna check the transfer numbers now, and you're gonna have to take my word on it because you're not gonna be able to see in there. So I'll let you watch me do this. I am going to see if I can see in there. I'm gonna come down. Now this number's not super critical right now. And I'm gonna see when I can see into my transfers. For some reason my glasses, oh, there they are. Okay, I'm just gonna back up a little bit. See if I can see it from here. Wow. The transfer is at a big angle. It's at a wicked angle to the piston. I think that's close. So top dead center, there's, well, that can't be right. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. 90, 100, 10, 20. I got 128. So let me show that to you. Because it's easy to get crossed up on this number thing, guys. So here's top dead center. There's 90. There's 100, 10, 20, and I got 8. So I got 128 on the transfers, basic number. And that gives me a blowdown of 30 degrees, right? And what the blowdown is the distance after the transfers close and until the exhaust closes. So the difference between the 98 when the exhaust opens and the 128 when the transfers open is called your blowdown number. So that's 30 degrees. 30 degrees is a little bit big. So we're going to see, you would want that number to be smaller. You'd want to be able to raise those transfers. I can't explain to you what I saw. I'm going to go back around the other side and I'm going to see if I can see the transfer on the other side. But the transfer was at a huge angle. The one that I checked on this side was at a huge angle to the piston. Typically, you want them fairly flat. So I want to see if I can see the one on the other side here. Can't see it. Oh, there. I can't see it good. So it looks closed right there. Let's just double check our number and see if it's the same. Let's see. I get there's 90, 100, 10, 20. Yeah, it's the same. So what that means is that what I'm seeing in the intake is that the intakes are, the transfers are like this. It's at an angle. And if you brought that up, like that, to make it level, that number would be, it would be more over here. So there would be less blowdown. So let's go ahead and get another view. We'll blow this jug off and see what it looks like inside. See if we can save it. All right, so let's blow this jug off. This jug was not very tight. All right, let's take it off and let's see what it looks like inside. Just get, I can put it right down on this paper. Get these bolts out of here. These go in the box. Putting most everything inside the muffler right now. Let's see what this has got on it. All right, so this is not the same gasket. This is a different gasket, so we are going to have to probably get a gasket. So let me get my flashlight here. Cylinder looks beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's clean. The exhaust is clean. There's a little bit of older buildup. It looks like the Red Armor was starting to clean out the exhaust because some of the older stuff is coming off. The inside of the cylinder is, I can still see cross-hatching where the windows on the piston are. Both sides, there is not 1 ounce of scoring in it. The ports are pretty rough. So porting is definitely going to help this. And then we are going to have to figure out those transfers. So you still see the cross-hatching there where the piston windows are. And you should see that. Nothing's rubbing on it. Looks really good. It's nice and clean. You see the buildup of the carbon on the outside of the exhaust right there. Well, he started running Red Armor, and look what's happening. The backside is all starting to clean up. You see how clean the exhaust is right inside the port edge there? It's all like brand, if I get the light right for you guys, it's all like brand new in there. Come on. Oh, I can see it with my eyes, but I can't get it in the camera. There you go. See how brand new it is all around the inside of the exhaust? Looks like that Red Armor fuel additive was starting to clean the exhaust port of the old dirty Stihl oil out of there. But yeah, it's in really nice shape. So this is our job now. We are going to have to get ourselves a gasket, but we're going to try to repair this blown out spark plug hole. And if we can repair that, then we're gold. So this is the plug saver kit that I use. See if I can get you some info on it. They're not cheap. Made in Australia. And I'll show you the components to it. What it does is it comes with a tap that is self-starting and self-cutting. It starts in at the old thread pitch and then cuts up to a new thread pitch. And then you put an insert in, and it's got an insert expander that you put this on the insert and you bang on it once really hard. It expands the insert. I'm still going to use red Loctite. The problem is that this insert right now, I think, is too wide this way. So I'm going to probably have to put this on my lathe and cut this insert down to the right thickness so it doesn't stick down into the bore. I'm going to measure that against a spark plug and see if it matters, because it may not matter. These threads are pretty, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only 6 threads in there. And on this, there is, hey guys, I lost mics here. My mics went dead. I'm not exactly sure why. But what I'm going to do here is we are going to tap out the hole with the 2-step tap that comes with the kit. Now these kits are a little bit expensive, but you're mostly paying for the tap itself. Now the beginning of the tap here that you can see me putting into the hole is the same size as the original hole in the original threads. And what that does is as you start putting it in, even if the hole's blown out, it kind of gets you started in the right direction, nice and straight. And then it tapers and necks up to a new set of threads. What I'm showing here is that the 3/4 hex on the top of it, your scrunch will actually fit on it, so you can use a scrunch if you wanted to. I am going to end up using a 3/4 socket on a ratchet. It makes it easier sometimes if you can back up, but to be honest with you, these cylinders are pretty soft, and usually you don't have to back up. You can just keep going all the way through. Right now I'm putting some 3-in-1 oil on the tap just to use as some sort of cutting lubricant. I don't know what I'm trying to point out right now, but we're going to start pushing this thing through the cylinder. And all it's going to do is it's going to cut an oversized tap that we can put a thread cert into. And we are going to have to cut that thread cert down a little bit. It's a little bit too wide just because I've done a 461 with this kit and I used up the threads on that other saw, the shorter thread. There's not a lot of threads in these saws. There's only about 6 threads going down. So you kind of have to pay attention and be a little bit careful here. I'm probably going to pause you guys 1 second here and I'm going to fast forward through this. So what I'm doing here is I'm backing that tap out with my fingers, and it tapped it perfectly out to the next size up. I'm going to go ahead and take the insert and kind of thread it in there somewhat flush, and then I'm going to grab a spark plug and I'm going to put a spark plug in it and I'm going to seat it all the way. Then we're going to look inside the cylinder. So we're going to go fast forward warp here for a second. So now I'm looking inside the cylinder to see how far in the spark plug sticks versus the bottom of the threads. The threads are protruding into the cylinder, into the combustion chamber just a little bit. And I'm going to actually pull that plug out. The insert's going to start to back out with it. And I'm going to measure the amount of threads that I need. And then we're going to go over to the grinder and we are going to grind the threads off so that they will be flush on the inside. So I'm going to end this here, and we will go over to the grinder. I won't do any voiceover on the grinder. I don't. So this is what the insert looked like flush inside the combustion chamber when I got done. Just kind of giving you a view in there with a flashlight, not a very good one. It's tough to get it all focused in, and then we're going to go over to the next step of red Loctiting this in. And I do lose audio over there too. I'll try to explain what happens there. All right, so I apologize. The clip before where I was grinding it down, apparently I didn't have my mics on, but it was no big deal. I showed you, I'll probably do some sort of little voice over there quick, just showing you what it looked like, and you don't have to listen to the grinder run, which is kind of cool. We're going to install the insert now. I just went and cleaned everything out. Get my red Loctite open. Hasn't been open in a while, obviously, because it's not opening. I'm going to put a little bit in the threads first. And then I'll put some, all right, that's plenty. Probably enough for the whole job right there. More than enough. Okay. We got to get this in there flush again. And this is where we lose audio again. And what I was just going to say was that we're going to beat on it with the expansion tool to expand the top of that insert out. It's got little ridges on it to stick into the bore, so it keeps it from turning back out. And here we're going to strike on it to expand it. And we're just going to check our work out. Then I'm going to go through a series here of putting the spark plug in, taking it back out, re-Loctiting it back in, resetting it, and then clamping it in the vise upside down so I can clean out the cylinder, get all the Loctite out of the cylinder, and make sure that all the Loctite gravity stays down into the threads and nothing drips back into the cylinder. So we'll go time warp here. So guys, I really apologize for the audio going wacko there. What I've got is I've got the cylinder clamped in the vise here so that the Loctite will stay down inside the threads until it hardens up. It's probably already hard now, but I'll wait 24 hours. My general rule of thumb is anytime I use any type of adhesive, I usually let it dry for 24 hours. The next step on this particular cylinder that you guys will see is we are going to cut 15 thousandths off the base. The way we are going to do that is right here. I have a hard cherry mandrel that I made to cut the base on a 394. So it's actually 56 millimeters right now. And I'll show this to you up close. This is basically what the mandrel looks like. This is a relief so that I can get my cutter all the way in to cut the base past the edge of the cylinder. I will turn this to 52 millimeters right here. It is punched so that I can run it between centers. This will sit in a special chuck that holds it, and then I will use a center on this side. We'll turn it down to 52. We'll slide the jug on. The center will then hold the jug onto this mandrel, and it's actually got, if you can see it right next to my thumb there, there's usually a center punch mark right there where this was turned originally. So we will set our center in there. If not, I'll use a flat center against it. We will set up a dial indicator before we turn it, and we will check the base to make sure that the base is running true to the lathe and the mandrel. If we have to tap it around, we will. We will get it until the base is running perfectly perpendicular to the concentricity of the lathe. And then we will take a carbide cutter turn the lathe way up to high speed. Some of this is going to be an interrupted cut because it's not symmetrical and it's square, obviously. We'll set up an indicator like this up against my carriage. We will zero it, and then we'll probably do it in 2 cuts, probably a 10 and a 5. So we'll take 10 off at first to see how it behaves, and then a 5 for a finishing cut to get our 15 thousandths out of the base. Then we will put a chamfer on the inside of the cylinder here so that we can put it together so the rings will slide in. And after we do that, we will end up going to porting. Now, I think what's going to happen with this is that we'll be waiting on the rings for it, for the piston, which is fine. We need the rings out of the piston to do all the fitting and the timing. We will time it, port it, finish port it, and get the cylinder completely done while we're waiting on the cable rings to show up. And then when the cable rings show up, we can basically put this whole thing back together. At some point, probably tomorrow, I will take it outside and do a mega cleaning on it and get it as clean as I possibly can get it. We get all the debris off it. We'll spray the crankcase out. We'll brake clean first. Then we will probably fill the crankcase up with gasoline. We will end up dumping that out. We'll blow it out. Then we will stuff rags inside there so that at that point, the inside of the crankcase is pretty much sterile. You get most of everything out of there. And then this saw will be in a waiting period for those rings to show up so we can put the whole thing back together and we can take it out and we will try it out. At some point during that process, I'll also take the carb out, take it apart, clean it. I won't show that. It's pretty simple. We'll make sure that there's nothing inside the carburetor, that we'll make sure the carb screen is clean, and then we'll go through the porting process. The porting process is pretty straightforward, but you will see that in a separate video. So me trying to explain it now, basically what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be porting in numbers. And I'm going to show you how to make your marks in your cylinder to take those numbers to the, where to take the numbers to. And we will port to that. We'll clean everything up. We will try to fix those transfers. We will match the exhaust to the exhaust gasket and to the muffler. And I will call the customer so I can get the exhaust cover back and try to get the air filter set up back so that we'll be able to run this saw. So I think there are going to be 3 videos in this, maybe a 4th. I think 3. If I can get all the porting and cutting the base into 1 video, which will be long like this one, then the next video, I think I can get the assembly, because you've already seen it come apart, the assembly and test cuts in that video. So thanks for coming along for the ride. And for now, part 1, Pirate Solutions out.